Good morning, students. We've been looking into the complex mechanism of power sharing in a democracy, and you have to understand that a democracy cannot function without this mechanism whereby you try and ensure that different constituencies, different sections within a society, they feel that yes, they are a part of the n- national sentiment, they are a part of a nation, that they are not alienated from the decision making process that undergoes within the political life of a country. And to ensure that, and that is particularly becomes challenging in a country which is multicultural society, which has diverse cultures, people with different belief systems, people with different gods, people with different ideologies, approach to life. Everything is different, but they are the citizens of that country, and if they are the citizens of that country, they have a stake in the welfare of that country and the political process within that country. And that is why you would have to ensure that you incorporate their interests, their concerns, everything when you devise a plan for the future of your nation or the future of your community or the state for that matter. And that is the reason why. And if you do not do that, if you think that you have a majority, so let me not pay attention to the interests or the concerns of the people who are minorities, or numerically they do not count much in a democracy, because in a democracy the numbers are important. It's a number game. That's what it is. It's very, very evident in a democracy. It is about numbers. But if it the democracy just being about numbers is a very short-sighted approach. The moment after maybe the initial windfall gains, you would understand that the system is not working if you haven't incorporated the interests, if you haven't taken everyone along with you. So today we would be looking at the and yes, different countries have come up with different mechanisms. We saw how Belgium has taken care of that problem. We have also seen that how Sri Lanka could have done something about that problem, but they thought that just because Sinhalese have the majority, so they can bulldoze any kind of an opinion. And that's what they recognized after 30, 40 years, that that system of majoritarianism does not work, because the the dissatisfaction of the section of the population which has been left alienated, that ultimately catches up and catches up, and then it starts building up, and then it becomes very difficult to sustain that whole mechanism. Because for the betterment of a nation, for the movement of a nation in one direction, you need the help, the cooperation of every section of the society. And today we look at how Lebanon, another country with which, the size of the country is very small, and that is why sometimes it is said about Lebanon that too much of diversity within such a small geography. And Lebanon also could have really exploded, because different had any section of the population tried and impose its majoritarian view, it would have, or they've tried having a majoritarian constitution, the whole nation would have exploded. So how they managed it, that's what is there in the third paragraph of this Khalil's dilemma. The third paragraph, I'll just read that. So that basically is it tells you what they have done. At the end of the civil war, Lebanon's leader came together and agreed to some basic rules for power sharing among different communities. As per these rules, the country's president must belong to the Manorite sect of Catholic Christians. So the president has to be a Catholic. The prime minister must be from the Sunni Muslim community. So that is also decided, mind you, as per the constitution. So the president has to be the Christian, a Mennonite Christian, that is, the prime minister has to be a Sunni Muslim, and the post of deputy prime minister is fixed for Orthodox Christian sect, and that of the speaker for Shia Muslims. Just see that some of the most important constitutional positions uh, within the government, they have been allocated for different religions, for different faith systems, so that people from these faiths who form the population of Lebanon, none of them feel alienated, and none of them feel that their population or their section or their community has not been represented, and or that they have been left out. So what is it? The president has to be a Catholic Christian. The prime minister has to be a Sunni Muslim. The deputy prime minister has to be an Orthodox Christian. Mind you, president, Catholic Christian, deputy prime minister, Orthodox Christian, and the speaker, that is speaker of the parliament, Shia Muslim. So just see that the prime minister happens to be a Sunni Muslim, the speaker happens to be a Shia Muslim, and under this pact, the Christians agreed not to seek French protection, and the Muslims agreed not to seek unification with the neighboring state of Syria. When the Christians and Muslims came to this agreement, they were nearly equal in population. Both sides have continued to respect this agreement, though now the Muslims are in clear majority. And students, I clearly remember, though, that I think about 2 or 3 months ago, where people, the new generation, because this agreement was reached some time back, the new generation does not want and this kind of an agreement, and they now want to change the rules of the game. So, but then Corona took over everything, and that agitation could not go far enough. So let us see. I'm sure something would happen here as well. So, let's see how long this agreement lasts, because yes, there are words of dissatisfaction now coming out of Lebanon. So, forms of power sharing. The idea of power sharing has emerged in opposition to the notions of undivided political power. For a long time, it was believed that all power of a government must reside in one person or group of persons located at one place. It was felt that if the power to decide is dispersed, it would not be possible to take quick decisions and to enforce them. But these notions have changed with the emergence of democracy. One basic principle of democracy is that people are the source of all political power. In a democracy, people rule themselves through institutions of self government. In a good democratic government, due respect is given to diverse groups and views that exist in a society. So, students, what the forms of power sharing now? What it is trying to tell you is that essentially that in the earlier times, that in the times of rajas and the maharajas and sultans, it was one man, the sultan or the king or the ruler or the queen, who used to be the fountainhead of all the power in a kingdom. He or she was all in all. There were law books, there even there in those times, there were definitely the cabinet minister or the mantri gun, as we used to call it in our own tradition. Everything was there, but ultimately the king would have the last word. He could veto, that is, he could reject ultimately whatever decision had been reached by the state institutions. Okay, that huzur aisa karna hai, but at the end you realize that the king ultimately overrides all of that decision, and he comes up with his own. He just listens to them, but ultimately comes up with his own. That could be very, very radical, completely out of law, because he was considered something who was, or rather someone who was the representation of God. So he could override anything. He could wish anything, because he happened to be the manifestation of God on earth. So, guys, those days are gone. That's what it is saying here. Now we live in the times of democracy, whereby people hold the power. Okay, whereby the government runs the will of people. That's what it is said, that now, the prime minister, say for example, Mr. Modi currently in India, he cannot do whatever he wishes to, because he'll have to listen to his cabinet ministers, and those cabinet ministers would give advice based on what as per the spirit of the Indian constitution. They cannot tell him, just because they want to be biggest chamchas, they cannot tell him, whatever would make Mr. Modi happy. No, he can't. The cabinet can't do that. Uh, there has to be a system where even the council, the advice has to be given as per the spirit of the constitution, as per the spirit of the powers of different institutions within the government. So that's what it is about. So in modern democracies, power sharing agreements can take many forms. Let us look at some of the most common arrangements that we have or will come across. The power is shared the power is shared among different organs of government, such as the legislature, executive, and the judiciary. So let us call this a horizontal distribution of power, because it allows different organs of the government placed at the same level. Guys, I'm sure you understand what is the difference between, forget about horizontal distribution of powers. Forget about those. Just remember this word horizontal. The difference between horizontal and vertical. Vertical is something which goes from down to up, and horizontal would be which goes flat. Simple, right? वो जमीन पर आप लाइन खींचते हैं, that is horizontal, right, from point A to point B. But say for example, if a if a rocket is going from ground to space, that would be vertical. वो ऊपर जा रहा है. So that's how it is. Now, horizontal distribution of power, because यहाँ पे the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, all of them are on straight line on the ground. All of them are equally important. None of them can claim superiority over the other. So this is a very, very horizontal distribution of power. Okay, and such a separation ensures that none of the organs can exercise unlimited power, because सबके पास समान अधिकार हैं, and each organ checks the others. This results in a balance of power among various institutions. Last year, we studied that in a democracy, even though ministers and government officials exercise power, they are responsible to the parliament or state assemblies. Similarly, although judges are appointed by the executive, they can check the functioning of executive or laws made by the legislatures. So essentially, what we are saying, students, here is that no one can exercise unlimited power. कोई ये नहीं कह सकता कि मैं ही सबसे सर्वशक्तिमान हूँ, या मेरी इंस्टीट्यूशन जो है यही जो है सबसे बड़ा रोल प्ले करती है इस देश में या इस राष्ट्र में. नहीं, all of them have a role to play, all of them have equal role to play and equally very important roles to play. And कोई भी किसी के अधिकार पे घुसपैठ नहीं कर सकता कि अबे हट, मैं दिस इज व्हाट आई मीन, और मैं ज़्यादा शक्तिशाली हूँ, सो दैट इज़ व्हाई आई हैव मोर पावर्स. नो, इन अ डेमोक्रेसी every institution of the government is extremely important, equally important. And that's what we shall continue tomorrow. Thank you.